So in this video, we will be discussing how to complete the flame test lab. So when you enter your Blackboard site, your lab Blackboard site, of course you always start with lab material. And then you will notice I have opened up all the labs at this point. And the lab we are completing today is flame tests. So as always, you have your 3 links: the background, the procedures, the lab assignment. Remember that the lab assignment is your deliverable. It's what you complete for a grade. And this pre-lab video you're watching, you should have found it here above these videos that are already loaded in. So once you open these up, and remember, I always load up all the links in one browser so that I have everything and I can kind of move back and forth just in case I need something. So first, starting with the background, what is this experiment about? So this experiment is related to chapter 4 about electrons and light and electron structure. And the flame tests are a visual representation of basically the electrons being active, right? So what exactly is going on? So without going, too deep into refreshing on electron configuration, I'm sure you've studied that enough by now, but the gist of it is that an electron will get excited because some sort of energy has gotten some sort of energy has hit the atom in general that excited the electron. And what ends up happening is that an electron will go up a level, an energy level, right? So you can see that one from here, from the 2p, went up to 4s. So what's going to happen? Is it going to stay there? And the answer is no, it's not going to stay there. It's going to go back to where it was. But to go back to where it was, it has to lose some of that energy. And the way it loses it is through a color. So it lets out a photon that has a certain color. So when that happens to all these different types of atoms, remember they all have different electron configurations, so they all have different numbers of atoms. Wow, did you catch that? They all have different numbers of electrons. So they have different numbers of electrons. They have different configurations. So they'll end up having different flame colors when you heat them up. So they'll have their corresponding colors. They're unique to each type of metal. And that's actually what you're doing today. You're heating up these metals. They're not necessarily solid metals. They're in solution as ions, right? But they still will exhibit this phenomenon. They still will exhibit this these beautiful flame colors. So that's what you'll be doing here. You'll be testing a variety of elements and compounds to observe the range of colors emitted by them when inserted into a flame. So definitely come back to this background section because you will use this as a reference. So these are the types of color descriptions that you'll be looking for, or that you'll be recording whenever you observe the flame tests. Okay, so after that, you can after reviewing the background, you can head into the procedures link. And in the procedures link, you'll notice, and you'll probably let out a sigh of relief, that this is a very short procedure, right? And it's very simple. So once you get the hang of doing one, you'll be good to go for the rest of them. So essentially what you're doing is you're taking 10 ml of one of the solutions at a time, and you're putting it into a test tube. And then you're dipping this wire rod, which is called I believe it's like a mixture of nickel and some sort of other metal, but basically I pronounce it as nichrome. I'm really not sure if it's nichrome, like for nickel, but Nichrome Wire Rod. And the reason it's a wire rod is because it can withstand the heat. So in the lab, you would be doing this the same way, taking the same type of wire rod in a physical lab. So you'll be taking that rod, dipping it into the solution, submerging it into the solution, and then you place the wire rod into the Bunsen burner. And then you observe the color and record that, okay? And then you repeat this for all the materials on the material shelf, okay? So like I said, once you get into the hang of the first time, you're good to go for the other materials. One thing to note is you will want the Bunsen burner on the low flame, okay? So I'm highlighting that so that hopefully you remember this when you do it yourself. But let's go ahead and head over to the simulation. Remember, you always head over to the simulation using this link right here. So I went ahead and, put the PPE on, and I entered the lab, and I brought over some of the things you'll be using. So you will be using a Bunsen burner, and you'll be using some test tubes. Now, luckily for you, you can always get new test tubes if you need, bigger one, smaller one. But here I just brought some over just so you can see them. They stand on their own like this. In a physical lab, you would need, a test tube rack. But here in this virtual lab, we have an easier situation where we don't need that. And then another piece of material you will need is the Nichrome Wire Rod. So that's how it looks. And just so we can zoom in and see that. So you'll see that it has like a metal handle, and then it has this wire, and it goes into a little loop. So that's perfectly normal. That's exactly what it's supposed to look like. So one thing I did want to show you that I reminded you just now at the end of the procedure, when I was talking about the procedure, is to turn on the Bunsen burner on the lowest setting. So there's a low, a medium, and a high. I guess I accidentally moved it. But anyway, and then off. So the lowest setting would be that one. So let's go back to the procedures. It told us turn the Bunsen burner to the low flame. So just click that bottom once. So that's what I wanted to show you. So there's 3 settings, but just click it once after, you bring it over, and you're good to go. So how is this actually going to work? You're just going to pour over, whatever solution you happen to be working with first. Remember, you are recording every single solution. So I'm bringing over the 10 ml, and you see that the solution is now in there. And then you would bring your Nichrome wire rod. You saw how it submerged a few times, and now it's ready to go. Wow, beautiful flame color. So you'll be doing that for all the different solutions on the shelf. So just make sure that you record the colors properly, and then you can go back to your background section to reference it, okay? Now let's take a look at the lab assignment. So for the lab assignment, you'll notice it is, less questions in comparison to the previous lab. So that's a thumbs up, right? And the good thing about this lab is it's fully qualitative. So we are looking and recording qualitative observations. And all that means is that you're observing, the colors, and you're not observing quantities, right? You're not measuring things with a scale, with a graduated cylinder where you record a measurement and a unit. This is fully qualitative, and you'll notice that the questions match that, right? So instead of asking about numbers, how much mass you got, it's asking about, the colors and what solutions matched a certain color. So I think this lab is pretty straightforward. So have fun with it. You will get those different colors. So enjoy this lab because it is a little bit easier, I would say, and a little bit more fun since you have all those colors. So if you have any questions at all, please let me know, and thank you for watching this video.